Module 4, Unit 3, Cluster or Sector Performance Monitoring. This unit will help you to be aware of the importance of a performance evaluation of the coordination platform. Understand the cluster performance monitoring process, its different steps and tools. Be aware of the role of the cluster or sector coordinator in the process and the follow-up of the action plan. After 6 months in his function as WASH Coordination Platform Coordinator, Daniel would like to evaluate the performance of the mechanism. He's heard about the performance survey, but would like to have more advice on how to conduct it. He's sure that Louise, as an expert on the cluster approach, could assist him.
Hello Louise. The WASH platform in Male has been functioning for half a year now, and we are intending to conduct a performance monitoring survey. What do you think?
I agree, Daniel. Although the cluster performance monitoring is a process that is often carried out by all the clusters, it can also be done by individual cluster if necessary. The following presentation will show you how the process works.
The development of the Cluster or Sector Performance Monitoring, or CPM, was one of the progresses of the Transformative Agenda. It was designed in 2012 by the EASC Sub-Working Group on Cluster Approach and endorsed as part of the reference module for cluster coordination at the country level. The CPM is a self-assessment of cluster performance against the 6 core cluster functions and accountability to affected populations. It is a country-led process that can be supported by global clusters, and OCHA. The CPM can also include sectors that are not formally clusters. The objective as such a process are to ensure efficient and effective coordination, 6 core cluster functions, to take stock of what functional areas work well and what areas need improvement, to raise awareness of support needed from the humanitarian coordinator, the humanitarian country team, cluster lead agencies, global clusters, or cluster partners. It is an opportunity for self-reflection and a platform for honest discussion or agreement on actions for improvement. It is also an opportunity to strengthen transparency and partnership within the cluster, to support accountability to affected people. In this regard, it is important to clarify the CPM is not a mechanism to monitor response of the cluster or the quality of its interventions. It only evaluates coordination functions. It is not a system to evaluate the performance of the cluster lead agency or co-facilitator, or to evaluate any individual. Its objective is not to evaluate if or when clusters should be deactivated, merged, etc., and it does not exclude usage of other tools with the same purpose. The CPM is a process to evaluate the 6 core cluster functions. 1. Support service delivery. 2. Inform strategic decision-making of the humanitarian coordinator and the humanitarian country team. 3. Planning and strategy development. 4. Monitor and report against the implementation of the cluster strategy and agreed results. Recommend corrective action where necessary. 5. Build capacity in preparedness and contingency planning capacity building. 6. Advocacy. 7. Accountability to affected populations. 3 steps are involved in the implementation of the CPM. The preparatory cluster meeting, the survey, the discussion of the results, and action plan. The first step involves convening a preparatory cluster meeting, in which the objectives are to introduce the CPM, its purpose, questionnaire, analysis and process, to clarify questions related to process, language and outcomes, to decide on implementation at national and, where relevant, subnational level. to clarify the timeframe for the different steps, the survey, the dissemination of the preliminary results, discussions and development of action plans, and finally, to commit on following up on agreed actions to improve performance. The second step starts by the distribution of the survey itself. It is made of 3 online questionnaires of 20 to 30 minutes, including description of the cluster structure, self-assessment questionnaire asking for information about cluster performance. It's important to know that the responses are anonymous, but should not include confidential or sensitive information in the comment boxes, as they will be included in the report. Also, if the questionnaire is not completed, input will not be reflected in the report. The survey results will not be shared until cluster members have had a chance to review the preliminary report. Once completed, the results of the survey are compiled in an Excel table. The median score for each sub-function is calculated based on aggregated results of partners and coordinators. The median score is classified into 4 categories of performance status: strong, satisfactory, unsatisfactory, and weak. The survey results are weighted and compiled into a report. Step 3 of the process encompasses the review of the findings in the preliminary coordination performance report that identify areas that work or require increased attention, identify support needed from cluster lead agency, partners and/or global clusters. During the meeting with the partners, an open analysis and discussion is encouraged in order to strengthen transparency and partnership. In this regard, clusters can request the Secretariat of the Global Clusters, or OCHA headquarters, for facilitation support. As a result of the meeting, the final coordination report and action plan are agreed by the partners. The action plan addresses identified needs and sets joint goals for improvement, raises awareness of support needed from the humanitarian coordinator, the humanitarian country team, cluster lead agencies, partners, OCHA, global clusters and national authorities. Can be shared with humanitarian coordinator, the humanitarian country team, and the global cluster and, if applicable, the national authorities. As part of the follow-up, cluster or sector coordinators will be responsible for taking stock of progress every month, attention to core functions registered as red or orange, including discussion on progress on the cluster or sector agenda after 3, 6 and 9 months, reviewing the final reports and action plans, presenting final reports or action plans to the humanitarian country team for information sharing and identification of support needed. The cluster performance monitoring process should be repeated annually or when need be.
Many thanks, Louise. That is a very well-structured process, and I'm really willing to implement it as soon as possible so that we will be able to identify our strengths and weaknesses.
Sure, Daniel. A very simple quiz can help you to remember all the steps of the CPM. You can share it with the partners.
Good idea.